What's up everyone, Paul here from the Hoops Crew to talk you through my predictions for the AFL Ladder 2024. Now we've seen, at this point of recording, the entire suite of practice matches, warm-up matches, no matter what you want to spin it, we've seen all of them. We've had the opportunity to suss out what every team is up to, what they're going for. We know they're kind of drafting ideas, they're trying to see what works, what doesn't, positional changes, all those sorts of things. But now, with that knowledge in the bank, coupled with what we know from season 2023, I'm here to talk you through my predictions for 2024 and where the Cats will end up and every other team around them. Now, my model is going to be pretty simple here. I've jumped on Tiermaker. They've got themselves a structure here, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through to 17th and 18th. I'm going to work bottom to top, but I'll hold the Cats off. I suppose it's not going to work, is it? Because the gig will be up at some point anyway. So, we'll start bottom to top. The two teams that will feature at the bottom of the ladder. I'm interchanging them. Obviously, I've got two positions to fill here, and it doesn't give me specifically 17, specifically 18, so we're just going to bundle two teams in that particular region of the ladder. And my picks are the West Coast Eagles. Sorry, Eagles fans. Harley Reid's there. He's going to be great, I'm sure. But it's going to take some time. And I think that's been kind of clear from some of the form of the preseason so far. It's going to be a work in progress. That is just the nature of the beast. And my big question from here is, will North elevate outside of that range? And it's a tough one. I'm actually going to say no. I think they need one more year as a rock bottom cellar dweller before things really start to climb. And I'm not talking about through the lens of they need even more young kids, because I think the talent is there. But they're young bodies, they're going to get bashed up, it's going to get rough at points. And so I just think that they'll need that additional time to build their bodies up, another preseason, that sort of thing, to really buy into what Clarko's selling. And of course, there'll be some more young talent that will come in the door as a result. But that's not, I think, the main thing. I think the talent is there. And so as a result, if they get a couple more at the end of 2024 as well, look out for North Melbourne in a couple of years. Like they might finally kind of break that 2.5, nearly 30-year-old kind of premiership duck at this point. It's been since 1999. So we're getting, we're 25 years now removed from their last premiership. Moving on. Next up, 15th and 16th position on the ladder. There are two teams for me that kind of, well, there's three teams really that I feel like could be in this particular position. One of those, the Fremantle Dockers. They just, from what we've seen, they're just not doing necessarily anything to impress too much. It's a damn shame, because they're a team that I wouldn't mind seeing do all right, and it's also not a great thing for the state of Western Australia to see their two lead teams rocking it to the bottom half of the ladder, bottom quarter of the ladder. So, yeah, Freo I've got there, and the other team is Richmond. They're just going to need time. No one can really argue with what they accomplished. 2017, 19, and 20 were amazing for them. Obviously, 20 is not a favourite topic for myself, but incredible results for that club, and they should be incredibly proud of what they achieved. But it's going to take time to rebuild. Some of the old guys have come through, and I think they didn't manage the list in the same way that Geelong did. Obviously, they achieved more success through that window of time, but it was a tighter window. What they did in 3 premierships in 4 years was extraordinary. We took, from 07 to 22, 15 years to achieve 4. They could potentially hit bottom and then build themselves back up to be another top team and maybe pinch another couple premierships in the next few years. We don't know. I don't know if that talent's necessarily there, but they're chasing that path. They're chasing that traditional rebuild model. So we'll see how it works for them. Next up, the Western Bulldogs. Bond's not going to save you here, guys. It's just not going to work. I don't see the Dogs doing anything too extraordinary this year. I think there's a lot of us that are feeling like Bevo could be in a bit of trouble as well, and he may not survive the season. And I think 13th to 14th on the ladder is a pretty reasonable, but also highly disappointing result for the Dogs. But I think that's the reality that we're looking at. They're too flaky. They've proved it time and time again. They are just too flaky. So 13 to 14th, I think, is where they'll end up, alongside the Hawthorn Football Club, who I think if they finish in 13th to 14th, the club will probably look at it as a win. They are a very young team, and they are building under Sam Mitchell. And look, I don't have any love for the Hawks, but I think the way they're positioning themselves is good. I think for if you're a Hawthorn fan and you finish 13th to 14th, you've probably seen the club pinch a couple wins that they arguably shouldn't have gotten. They've really competed all year. They've been close. I don't think they're going to be a crazy number of blowouts. You might get your 30, 40 point losses, but I'm talking about the big 80 to 100 point things. We're talking about Jeremy Cameron blowing a team away, the team away in a half of football alone. I don't think we're going to see too many of those sorts of results. And I think if you're a Hawthorn supporter, you probably take that. So yeah, that's where I see them finishing up. Next, in that 11th to 12th sort of window, things start getting a little bit tricky now. But the Essendon Football Club will be one of those teams. Didn't see anything that inspired me when they played against us. You could see that Geelong was kind of, I won't say toying. That's definitely not the right word. We gave them more than we absolutely should have, and at different points. But you could see Geelong kind of easing their way into it and kind of building themselves up. The Bombers hit them kind of hard early on and couldn't do much with the ball. They don't have crazy potency going forward. Mackay is just not going to add that much. He's just not that good of a key defender, honestly. The amount they're paying him is absurd. The size of the contract, absurd. The duration, I think, was pretty crazy as well, if I recall. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I think it's going to get proven pretty early on that he's not the boom recruit that Bombers fans want him to be. Sitting alongside the Essendon Football Club, this starts to get really tough. There's a number of teams here that, and you could probably bundle Geelong into it if we have another rough year for injury, that you could make an argument for occupying this portion of the ladder. But I'm going to say in 11th to 12th, it'll be St Kilda. I don't believe in what they're selling. I believe they've got some talent for sure. Max King is extraordinary. They've got some, Sinclair is awesome. They've got some wonderful talent around the ground, but I don't think they've got the makeup to really properly contend. And I think they just need a bit more time to add a little bit more youth on top of what they've already done in recent years. Like talented youth that can come through, knock out some of those guys who are kind of making up the numbers. The Jimmy Websters who are now out for a few weeks. By the time this goes live, I'm sure he's copped a fair whack for that bump. I just don't see them doing a lot. So I think St Kilda misses out. Beyond that, and I've got to double check this. We've got 10 we got 10 teams left here to select from. Next up, I think is a team that I think we all kind of believe is on the slides a little bit, and I think that's going to result in them just missing out on the finals for the first time in a few years. The Melbourne Football Club, obviously pinched the premiership in 2021, and that was an awesome achievement. Congratulations to Melbourne. Obviously, that was a very lengthy process it took to win that premiership. Jim Steins did so much to kind of help build the club up and help them to achieve it in the first place. Obviously, couldn't make it to the end to actually see it, but they owe a lot to him. And obviously, hardened fans for decades have been awaiting this moment. And it's a real shame for those Melbourne fans that they never got the opportunity to see it at home. They could, for the most part, it was on their TV sets watching on what was going on in Perth, and that's really disappointing for the Melbourne fans. But I think you're about to start a little bit of a trend back down the ladder. Max Gorner's getting old. You've got talent like Petrarca. Oliver's a bit of a mess, but can't question his skills. You've lost a key midfielder now in Brayshaw, and your forward line's kind of rubbish for the most part. So I don't know. I don't see the Melbourne Football Club being the danger team that they were a couple of years ago. That even could have been last year. So I think they'll miss out. From here, I've got another final slider. Port Adelaide Football Club will just miss. And I think, unfortunately, as much as I want to see him successful, I think that might be where Ken Hinckley's time with the Power ends. If that ends up being the case. They've got so much talent. It's crazy the amount of talent they've got, but they just cannot seem to. They're flaky. I used that language before about the Dogs. They are flaky, the Power. They will rock up some weeks. They won't rock up to others. They'll beat up on teams at home, but then they travel to Melbourne and don't deliver in the same way. I don't know. They're just a team that's just been inconsistent. Now, if all of that clicks, then this is a very wrong prediction. If all of that clicks, they're a top 4 team and could really, make a strong argument to win the premiership. But we've been saying this for years, haven't we? So I don't believe in them at the moment. And so that takes us to the top 8. And I have, for the first time ever, the Gold Coast Suns featuring in the finals. The talent is there. Dimmer is there. And I think that makes a huge point of difference. I think that really builds them behind a game plan. That the players look at him and go, this is a guy who's taken Richmond Football Club to 3 premierships in 4 years. We cannot question his ability. He's chosen to come to us after walking away from the club. There's circumstances there. And I think they're going to believe. I think they're going to believe really strongly in what he's doing, and I think it will make a strong push for a finals berth finally. And I hope that they're really successful once they're there. Besides Geelong, I don't think there's a club I want to see more successful than GWS initially, because I love the big sound and everything they're about. But then beyond that, the Suns. I feel sorry for them, and I want them to make finals, and I think this year could be the year. Next up, joining them is I think a hard luck story this year. Carlton, not because of a lack of talent. With Charlie there, you've got Cripper, you've got all these incredible players, but you can already see that the wheels are falling off early with Sam Walsh and his back that I'm sure is far worse than what the club is saying. We've got Wiedering that's out with, I think it was a calf. That's a long-term calf. They've offloaded a few players. They've retained some others that, dubious. Silvani was one of those, and then he did his knee and he's gone for the year. I think they're the Geelong. I mean, they're going to hold on to the bottom half of the 8, but because I think they've got youth and they've got skill and they've got Charlie Curnow. But I think they're going to be a bit of a Geelong this year, where we expected them to be right up near the top, and they're going to slide, but they will just scrape through. I think off the back of mauling West Coast and North Melbourne a couple times, those sorts of things, like what they did last year. Charlie boosting his Coleman tally against the Eagles in particular, if I remember. Here is where I have to start really thinking through my allegiances and working out where the Geelong Football Club's going to fit. And I'm not sure yet whether it's... I'm tossing up between 3, 4 and 5, 6. But one team I do firmly believe will be in that 5, 6 sort of range is the Adelaide Football Club. I think this is going to be a huge step forward year for the Crows. They've got a great list. They've got so much talent. They've recruited very well. They've brought players in from other clubs. Very strategic picks there. And I think that's going to hold them in very, very good stead in 2024. They're going to be a threat. And they've got so much potency in the forward line. Tex is still a bit like Hawk, is defying his age at this point. And they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be really dangerous. I think Darcy Fogarty, is going to have an amazing year. Look out. I believe in the Crows. I believe in their direction. I believe they can cause a lot of damage over the course of this year. Next up, I've made my call. I'm going the Giants, where none of us really expected the Giants to have a great season last year. And I do feel like I'm potentially putting them a little bit higher here. I think I'm maybe just getting a little bit carried away. And also I mentioned before that, if not the Cats, I'd love to see the Giants win, because I love the big sound. I love the social media team and everything they do. It's so much fun. It's just a fun club. I really love what they're doing. So I'm worried that I've maybe inflated them a little bit too much here. But they've got the makings of a top 6 team, and I hope that's the case. And I hope that they're right up there. I hope that they're causing damage. I hope they can go maybe one step further than what they did with the prelim last year and just knock the Pies out. Specifically the Pies. Knock them out. But they could go either way. They're a team that could absolutely go either way, and we'll just have to wait and see there. Next up, the top 4. I'm not going to get too carried away. We're going to put the Swans there, and we're going to put the Cats there. The 2022 Premiership Grand Final teams will be back up and about. I believe that the Cats still have the list, and the age profile is not the issue. It's injuries. And injuries, obviously, the age profile can have a bit to do with that, because the age is what potentially puts you at risk of more injuries. But I believe that they've learned a lot from what happened in 2023. Cam Guthrie's circumstance at the moment is unfortunate, but he's gonna come back, and I'm sure will be amazing for us when the time comes. Get that conditioning up, and we'll be ready to go. It was such a shame that he went down in his within seconds of his first proper hit out. That was devastating bit of news. But I believe in what the Cats are doing. I believe the old guys are going to be just as good as they've ever been in the last 4 to 5 years. I believe Danger's going to be used more effectively, and he's going to be more dangerous than ever before, simply because he'll play that forward, he'll play that midfield role. His game time will be up a little bit on 2023. He's kind of lingering in the 70% game time sort of ballpark. I think that might trend back towards more 80s, and with him being more up forward. And that's going to be really dangerous. And I believe that the young guys, the Tanner Bruins, the Jai Clarks, we saw that in the game against Essendon, they're getting close to making a big jump. And so I'm hopeful that those combination of circumstances, with a bit of luck on the injury front, is what gets the Cats back into the top 4 and a real threat. We know what they're capable of. And as a Cats fan, I'm hoping it works out. But also trying to take the biased hat off and trying to be a bit analytical. I feel like there's a good chance. There's some good things about the Cats, and that leaves us with, I guess, at this point, the fairly obvious pairing of the Lions and the Pies yet again, featuring in that top 2. Do the Lions actually pinch the grand final this time? Well, I hope so, because to hell with Collingwood. But the Pies list is kind of undeniable. It's incredible what they've got there, and I feel like injury is the only thing that can kind of deprive them of being in that top 2. The Lions, a little bit more flaky, because again, we know what they can be like when they travel, but the home, they will dominate their home games, and will win enough when they're travelling, specifically when they're travelling to Melbourne, that they'll get the job done, and maybe they'll go one step further this year. We'll have to wait and see. All right, that is my ladder predictor for 2024. I'm going to pay a price for this later in the year, I'm sure. I'm not going to get bored into any sort of Ben stupidity and say that the Bombers are going to make a giant jump like he did for 2023 and ate humble pie on that one. I believe strongly that the Cats will be climbing back up the ladder again. Is it quite as high as 3rd and 4th? That might depend on injuries. But otherwise, I'm pretty comfortable with what I've put together here. That 7, 8, 9, 10 window is a fascinating one. You could make an argument for the Power and the Ds. There's no reason why the Saints can't stay in the finals race, but I just don't know if the talent's there. And of course the Suns, I'm asking them to do something that they've not done before yet, which is make the 8. So there's a whole bunch of little chances I've taken there, but I think I've chosen all right. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit me up on social media to tell me what you're thinking. Go check out all things Hoops Crew on YouTube, on podcast services, on social media. Visit our Patreon. Kick in a few bucks, because there's some great opportunities there to get early access to my show, Behind the Play, as well as a whole bunch of other cool content from the Chaps Chat Cats to Full Nuff Mode and a whole bunch of other stuff. Weekly content, daily content. There's so much going on at the Hoops Crew in 2024. Go check all of it out. The season is due to begin in days. Opening round is upon us. I'm excited. Footy's back. Check it all out. Stick with us in 2024. Thanks a lot for watching, and go Cats.